Játék Pelletier Yenisei Maideskis initially Billigana Bashin, Keen Lachitni Dashache, Billigana Dashanale. Welcome back to Resball, where this time we're going to talk about maybe my favorite player. I love defense, so maybe my favorite player in the 2025 NBA draft class, Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joseph's. I mean, is there if you like somebody who wants to be like a shot creator, well, this is not going to be your thing, but definitely my type of guy. So let's get into Rasheer Fleming right about now. Rasheer Fleming is from Camden, New Jersey, comes from Camden High School, nationally ranked Camden High School, 0-star recruit. Somehow managed 10.9 rebounds as a sophomore, but then as a junior only played 12 games. Played about 32, I believe, something like that, games as a senior, and then didn't really get recruited. Ends up at St. Joseph's and slowly but surely works his way into their rotation, into their starting lineup, and is one of their standout players the past two seasons. Why in the world was Rasheer Fleming looked over? And especially when I give you some of these numbers and measurables, that's not what were people thinking. Why is this guy 0-star recruit? Well, he was teammates with some guy named DJ Wagner and another guy named Aaron Bradshaw, both like 4 or 5-star recruit, McDonald's All-American guys. That's part of the reason why Rasheer Fleming was overlooked there, particularly in the junior season. It's something that I dug into and tried to find a more definitive answer, because you look at sophomore season, he's pretty productive there in Camden. Junior season, like they just didn't play him at all. And then as a senior, he got more minutes. So whatever happened in the junior season, I personally would like to know, to track the journey, to tell the story and all that stuff, because it's clear at St. Joseph's, this kid is a worker. Like, again, in basketball, it's not like football. In football, you will see so many guys that were walk-ons, so many guys that were like 1-star, 2-star, 3-star recruits that end up being superstars in the NFL. Honestly, it's kind of the reverse of basketball, where if you go back and look at who the all Americans were in high school, 5-star guys, honestly, not a lot of them end up panning out to be NFL superstars, even like NFL backup starters. It just doesn't happen. It seems like they peak physically early and then other people catch up to them. And so that's probably what it is with basketball. It ain't like that. If you're a 5-star guy, you probably are the NBA superstar. And it's not very often you see a story like Rasheer Fleming, where 0-star recruit, outshined by these guys in high school, playing time up and down. And then the next thing you know, hey, they're an NBA prospect. So let's dive into the stats right here. Again, thanks to Sports Reference and all the great work that they do there, tracking all these stats. This past season, at St. Joseph's, Rasheer Fleming scored 14.7 points per game, pulled in 8.5 rebounds, 1.3 assists, 1.4 steals, 1.5 block per game, and just 1.5 turnovers per game. Shooting splits for Rasheer: 64.6% from 2-point range. That's not a typo. 64.6% from 2-point range. That's 2 years in a row this guy shot over 64% from 2-point range too. And then this season, a career high from 3-point range, both with the numbers, the totals, the makes, and the percentage, 39% on 4.5 attempts per game. And then at the free throw line, Rasheer Fleming also shot a career high in percentage, 74.3%. So 64.6% from 2-point range, 39% from 3-point range, 74.3% from that free throw line. That all translates into a fantastic true shooting percentage of 63.8%. Oh, that's also a career high. So Rasheer Fleming, again, if you want to know the work ethic, sometimes you can look at the stats like this: 52.7% true shooting as a freshman on 637 minutes, 60% true shooting last year on 937 minutes. That's part of the reason why so many people got on the Rasheer Fleming train in the offseason. It's like, look at how efficient this guy is. I think there's the 3-point shot. He's also really good on defense and 60% true shooting. Imagine if he's even average as a 3-point shooter, like that shooting percentage is going to go up into elite territory. And what do you know? As a senior, as a junior third-year player, 63.8% true shooting percentage. Again, That shows the work ethic of this kid to put in the time to expand the game to become more and more efficient. And part of the reason why on those minutes, the 3-point attempt rate too, it's not like wildly low. The first season, 49.3%, came in already knowing like this is part of my game. I want to work on being stretch big. As a sophomore, 39.3%, it became less of a thing, de-emphasized. And then as a third year and junior player, 44.9% gets back up to 40% and starts to get closer to a 50-50 split, which I think ideally would be the best for Rasheer Fleming. Other thing to highlight, I know the percentages on the defensive rebounding and offensive rebounding, total rebounding percentages don't look fantastic. 7.6% offensive rebounder, 22.8% defensive rebounding. That's pretty good. And then 15.3% total rebounding. You're like, I don't know what would make me so excited about this. But remember, 8.5 rebounds per game, number one. And then the totals on these, it was 156 in just 637 minutes as a freshman, 260 last season as a sophomore, and then this season 299, just one shy away from 300. And on the defensive glass, he definitely got after it, 227. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see last season as a sophomore, Rasheer Fleming had 88 offensive rebounds. I think that was part of the selling point of him last season. Last off season anyway, was like, oh, I think if he has this great offensive rebounding package, seems like he has a good wingspan. If he expands as a 3-point shooter, like is a nice skill set. Well, I think part of it is that at St. Joe's, I mean, they basically played 3 guards, all 6'3" and under there. They still won 22 games. They went like 22-13, but they were, by all accounts, a disappointing team. A lot of people thought they would win the A10, but they ended up not doing that. I mean, Eric Reynolds was another guy that a lot of people thought was going to be a draft prospect by this point, but didn't shoot it quite as well as he had in years past, even though he did take a ton of threes. And Rasheer Fleming had to make up for a lot of that there as well, and especially getting back on defense. When you play 3 guards, 6'3" and under, that's 4 of your top guys. The other guy had 6'9", 220, as Rasheer's listed at. Probably got to get back on defense to cover up for a lot of that stuff. And the coach is like, hey, it's not crash the offensive glass. Get back and be the back line for these guys here. But again, 227 defensive rebounds. These total numbers are really, really good for a guy that is supposed to be undersized center. But again, the very first time I ever heard Rasheer Fleming's name came from Maxwell Baumbach. I don't even know if it was 2 years ago. It might have been like a year and a half ago, to be honest. And the one thing he said is this guy looks like he has a gigantic wingspan. Well, what do you know? At the NBA Draft Combine, Rasheer Fleming measured 6'8" in shoes, so definitely 6'9" in shoes, no doubt. 232 pounds, so he's bulkier and more muscular than what he's listed at, and then 7'5" wingspan. Yeah, that's like among the best wingspans at this year's combine. 7 feet 5.25" wingspan on 6'9" guy. No wonder he's rebounding the way he is. No wonder he's able to play center the way that he was. Again, I don't necessarily like the stocks of like combining the steals and the blocks, but 54 blocks, 49 steals. That's definitely where the calling card for Rasheer Fleming is going to be, is on defense. And again, with that wingspan, that's what everybody is salivating over. NBA Draft Twitter has been on the Rasheer Fleming bandwagons since partially in the offseason. I think everybody jumped on by the new year once conference play started, and Rasheer Fleming was still shooting very well and still maintaining the block numbers that he had, and it seemed like the steal numbers were getting better. I mean, this is like clearly elite role player supreme, as I always like to call it. And if you don't know what that means, you're new to the res ball terminology. That way, role player supreme for me is somebody like an Aaron Gordon, is somebody like a KCP, is somebody like a Bruce Brown, where sure, they're not the superstar. Sure, they might be on one team where they're kind of overtaxed in their role, but when they get on the right roster, and the Denver Nuggets, I just magically used 3 Denver players. It wasn't really my thought process, but I think those 3 guys are good examples of what a role player supreme is. Like Aaron Gordon, I believe he's drafted number 4 overall to the Magic. They want him to be their star. trying to force him to be like a 3-point shooter, on ball creator doesn't work out, but still a really good defender, fantastic athlete. Bam gets traded to Denver after they lose Paul Millsap, gets into that same role. Doesn't have to have primary creation ability since Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic are there, and then can just fill in that role of being a fantastic defender who can guard the 4 and the 3, maybe even some small ball 5s at times, and doesn't have to do a lot of creation. KCP, same thing. I mean, I'm a Piston fan. We drafted KCP way back when, and so many of us back then too were like, stop giving him usage. He's a fantastic 3 and D guy. Everybody here in Detroit fandom said as soon as he gets a role where all he has to do is defend guards and shoot threes, he's going to be elite. And what do you know? He helped the Lakers win a title. He helped the Nuggets win a title doing that exact same thing. And then Bruce Brown as well, like kicked around here and there. But when he was on Denver, he filled in that junk type role where it's like, hey, we need some funky 6'4" guy who can guard power forwards and centers, who fills in playmaking ability and can occasionally knock down a 3. Rasheer Fleming is like this too. You're not going to give him a ton of usage, but he has athletic tools. He has this mega wingspan that makes him able to guard centers in college, makes him able to be a fantastic mismatch power forward, and then with that shooting ability, with the expanding offensive role and all that stuff. Again, role player supreme potential is high. Here, as I said before, this is probably the highest rated trio of guys that I'm going to look at. Cooper Flagg, VJ Edgecombe, Rasheer Fleming. Cooper Flagg is the number 1 overall prospect for everybody. As I said last time, VJ Edgecombe is number 6 overall for me. And where I have Mr. Rasheer Fleming currently on the big board is at number 11. He might creep into the top 10, but it's like a dead heat with him and Kaman Malawach for me. We'll get in Kaman Malawach soon as well. But I mean, Kaman Malawach has the height over him. I think he beats him just by like an inch in wingspan, maybe an inch or two there in wingspan. Definitely doesn't have the shooting numbers that a Rasheer Fleming has, and the time and the effort put into that. And just when you're that massive of a human being and can move the way Kaman Malawach is, the teeniest, tiniest of edges, because look at the shot chart for Rasheer Fleming. Again, think it's 6'9", 7'5" and a quarter inch wingspan, 49 steals. What did I say? 54 blocks. Yeah, 54 blocks. And then shooting 18 of 49 from the corners, 36.7%. 44 of 110 threes above the break for 40%. Took 5 shots in the mid-range. If there's ever a Daryl Morey special player, this is it. I don't think Philly would take him at 3, but I would not be surprised if Philly fell in love with the Rasheer Fleming. I mean, he's right there locally in St. Joseph's and Philadelphia area. He fills the role they absolutely need next to like a Joel Embiid, a Paul George, and a Tyrese Maxey. I mean, if 2 of those guys can stay healthy anyway. But 3-point shooter at the 4, you combine him with a Joel Embiid, who's already a big dude, who's great on defense when healthy. I mean, that's a block party waiting to happen, right? And again, Daryl Morey, famous for taking guys that only shoot threes and go to the rim. 39 of 75 shots for Rasheer Fleming in the paint, 52% rate, fantastic. He can do some turnaround jumper stuff. He can do a little bit of like, backing you down, getting the hook, getting the up and under kind of thing. Not a lot, but every now and then definitely has understood how to use his size in mismatch situations. And then at the rim, stellar. He might be the best guy at the rim in this draft in terms of the percentages and the numbers and all that. Like, for me, the benchmark is like, did you take 100 or more shots at the rim? Okay, that means you can actually put pressure on it. And then what did you shoot? If you shoot 70%, I put you in great category. Anything over 71% is elite. And for Rasheer Fleming was 87 of 115 shots at the rim, which is 75.7%. Again, the Daryl Morey special to a T. 40% from the long parts of 3-point range, 75% on shots at the rim. That's really all you need for a Rasheer Fleming. Breaking these down into the medium zones. Did take a single shot from the right elbow, 1 shot from left elbow, 3 from left baseline, 1 from right elbow. That's the last I'll talk about. The 3-point or the mid-range shots, excuse me. I guess I'll just break down the above the break threes again. All elite numbers. 14 of 33 from left wing, 42.4%. 17 of 43 from top of the key, 39.5%. And then 13 of 34 from right wing, which is 38.2%. All great stuff. But this is a role player supreme guy. Part of coming into this is that you're not going to ask this guy to dribble. And I'll get into this with the comp a little bit too. Like, yes, he can dribble. 21.2% usage was his career high. Yes, you turn on the film. It's not like a guy that's dribbling off his feet or like you can't give him usage to. But in the NBA, again, you look at the shot chart and you're like, I want this guy to be a floor spacer. I want this guy to be a pick and roll finisher. I want this guy at the rim and I want this guy shooting threes. I'm not going to be giving him a ton of on ball duties. So, why am I harping on this? If you're going to be giving this guy not that much usage and you want him to be a role player, you don't expect him to have the ball. He's going to be a floor spacer. He's got to get better as a corner 3-point shooter. Number one area of concern and number one area of improvement that needs to happen. Again, it's not very often I demand this from somebody. Think of the VJ come last time where I was like, I demand a runner floater kind of thing because that just opens up a lot more. And it gives you the added attacking. It gives you another element that it's like, okay, we just know this guy's going to shoot at the rim and shoot threes. With a Rasheer Fleming here, it's like force him left. If he's at the left corner, just let him go. Because right now, 8 of 27 from the left corner, 29.6%. And then 10 of 22 from the right corner, 45.5%. Great stuff. Also, this is where like the St. Joe's film is a little bit odd, especially playing with 3 guards. You'd think there would be a lot of corner opportunities for somebody like this, but the scheme they ran and the things they did, it was more pick and pop stuff, which again, positive, great, fantastic. But in the NBA, I think you got to get right in the corner threes. Really, I want you to be red from everywhere, Rasheer Fleming, because you have that ability as a 3-point shooter. And it's just a left corner. Again, I know if you're looking at this on YouTube and if you remember, it's like 38% or better from everywhere else on 3. And you're like, come on, Steve, it's still the left corner. No, this is a guy that can be elite of elite, deadly 3-point shooter from everywhere, 6'9", 7.5-inch wingspan. Mismatched dude, 75% at the rim, 52% in the paint. All of these things are good numbers, and all of these things are things that teams crave in their role players. Like, okay, after the top 5, after the top 10, I'm just trying to find a guy that I know can fill a role and can fill it at an elite level. The other example I always use is like Alonzo Ball. Lonzo went number 2 overall. Again, shout out to Lonzo, man. He was really rounding himself out into being the elite of elite, like green D guard type prospect that still handled the ball, a fantastic passer. I mean, like Lonzo could pass in his sleep better than most people can. Working on it 24 hours a day, wide awake, right? You know, it's like Rasheer Fleming can be at that level as the preeminent, like stretch big type of dude. I don't think he's going to play center a lot of times. But my comp for a Rasheer Fleming is Jabari Smith Jr. It's funny, I kind of went back and forth with a couple Rockets players, number one being Tari Eason. And I thought about doing the comp blend here of like, well, I think Rasheer has the offensive game of a Jabari Smith Jr., but the defensive game of a Tari Eason. But Tari is such a unique animal. Like he really can guard point guards all the way to power forward. And the other Rocket that isn't in the comp at all, but I thought about and factored into was like Amen Thompson. If you watch Jabari Smith and have tracked this Rocket team since they drafted Jabari, like Jabari's block numbers have gone down every single season he's been with the Rockets, but it's not that his defense has gone bad. If anything, like if you watch that series against the Warriors, like Jabari did fantastic job on defense. And just go look at his defensive tracking numbers in the playoffs. He only had like 27% on threes and like 47% on shots, like 6 feet in, something like that. It's like he proved like, oh, cool, I can do this. And I think he shot something like 45.5% from 3. They didn't start him many games, but I mean, he filled up the stat sheet. He shot extremely well. He defended his tail off. And I think Rasheer Fleming can do those things. And why I bring Jabari Smith Jr. into it is the Rockets, they played Şengün Steven Adams and Jabari Smith together in certain lineups with what people have deemed like the triple tower defense because Jabari Smith Jr. is athletic enough, has a great wingspan that he can go out and guard LeBron James at the three. He can go out and handle like a KD at the three when they do it that way. Playing Steven Adams and Şengün together is a stupid idea, but because you have a Jabari Smith, you have an Amen Thompson, you have a Tari Eason, you can do these kinds of things. And I think Rasheer Fleming is that exact kind of player. I also think the Jabari Smith Jr. comp is apropos too, in that Jabari wasn't an on-ball guy. He still went number 3 overall in that draft class. I was one of the people that was, this isn't a slight on Jabari, but I was one of the people that was duped early on into thinking Jabari could be number 1. And then the season wore on, you're like, oh, I don't think this guy ever took like 3 dribbles. So I don't know, he definitely didn't take like 4 dribbles. And then you watch like Paulo and Chet, and you're like, well, these guys have more creation. I mean, Paulo is basically like Carmelo Anthony type of an athlete at 6'10", and Jabari Smith, people started to realize like, oh, the same thing. He can be an elite role player. And if we did want to buy into him in terms of being more of a primary, even a number 2 guy, like this is going to take a while, but the skill set of look at that jumper, man, it just falls in like, man, this guy knows how to score. And he had a block a game. He had to oversteal a game. Same thing with Rasheer Fleming. It took a while, a little bit longer, 3 years for Rasheer Fleming, but I see that exact same type of player and why he's at 11, just like teetering on that top 10 for me. I don't think it's out of the like realm of possibility to put him in that same category as VJ Edgecombe, because Rasheer Fleming and VJ Edgecombe share a lot of the same type of breakdown in their profile. Is like maybe Rasheer isn't the explosive athlete that a VJ is, but he has that wingspan that allows him to be a mismatch advantage at a couple different positions. And he is a fluid enough athlete to be able to hang with NBA small forwards, power forwards, and centers. And same thing with Jabari. They played him at small ball center still in Houston in like the backup units, and they've been able to do a bunch of different things with him because he has these same things over Rasheer Fleming. Fantastic jumper that just seems like you can deploy from everywhere else. Jabari's rounding himself into being a better corner 3-point shooter. Probably takes more tough ones than he should, and he occasionally does back guys down. Became a better screener role guy. I think Rasheer actually is probably ahead of the curve from where Jabari was in terms of doing that, where at Auburn, like they gave him more usage and stuff from day one, and Rasheer has more been supplementary role player back to his days in Camden with DJ and Aaron Bradshaw, knowing like, okay, I have to screen, I have to roll, I have to pick and pop and do these things to get my teammates involved and help them out and take pressure off of there. Whereas Jabari had to work that into Houston to know like, okay, I'm not the guy and this is the package that I'm going to have. I also think Rasheer is just like stouter. Jabari still looks like pretty skinny, but they deploy him in screens. They deploy him in pick and pop. They deploy him as the 3 sometimes. They deploy him as the center. I think Rasheer Fleming can be the exact same type of player for certain as Jabari Smith Jr. because he has such a versatile range of things he can do. He has the perfect complementary skill set to any star player. Like this is why I love him so much. Like every team needs a Rasheer Fleming, 6'9", 7'5.25" wingspan, fantastic 3-point shooter, gets a ton of blocks, gets a ton of steals, can play small ball 5, is more like a 3-4 in the NBA. What's not to love about Rasheer Fleming? This is why NBA Draft Twitter has been in love with Rasheer Fleming since 2023, probably 2024, somewhere in there. And this is another one of those guys that everybody's probably fighting over. Like, no, I tell you first. No, I said him first. Because I've heard Maxwell Baumbach. I've heard Rafael Barlow, James Barlow, Leaf Tulane, Mavs Draft, Rich. Like a bunch of different guys mentioned him starting in like 2 years ago. So it's easy to see if you have eyeballs and you watch St. Joseph, like, yo, who's that dude with the gigantic wingspan that seems like a good defender and is getting better as a shooter? Some film to look at. Hoop Intellect. Shout out Keandre. Just about a day ago, he dropped his Rasheer Fleming scouting report. Go check it out. It's fantastic breakdown, about 15 minutes. Derek Parker released his about 9 days ago. Rasheer Fleming scouting breakdown. Just today, I'm recording this on May 29th, 2025. Portland Trailblazers had a pre-draft workout with Rasheer Fleming. I'm sure Rafael Barlow's ecstatic about that. They posted his interview there with that pre-draft workout about 7 hours ago. Go check that out too. The No Ceilings crew has, again, Max, shout out to Maxwell, been on the Rasheer Fleming train for a long time. And it's not just him, it's the whole crew. Like the Tylers here, they did a nice draft withdrawal show about 3 hours ago. And they do a little breakdown of my guy Carter Bryant here in Arizona and Rasheer Fleming. I think that's a great combo, by the way, too. I thought about doing that combination, but it broke out how it did for me. So go check out their stuff on Rasheer Fleming. And No Ceilings Crew also did put together a nice little package, scouting season highlight package on Rasheer Fleming. And then last but certainly not least, Hardwood Hoop Central NBA Draft Green Room. 2 hours, 44 minutes, 17 seconds. Everything you ever want to see on Rasheer Fleming. Wow, it's so beautiful. So once more, Rasheer Fleming, 6'9", 7'5.25" wingspan. Jabari Smith Jr. You can play him at the 3, you can play him at the 4, which is mainly where his minutes are going to come. He's mainly going to be a supplementary shooter and supplementary guide to your superstars, but fantastic, versatile, elite defensive role player. I have him at 11. By the end of this process, might sneak into the top 10. So, yeah, thank you so much for listening to us. We'll catch you next time. We're going to